The day you realize you can no longer manage every aspect of your life alone is not a day of defeat, but it is a day of extreme danger if you make the wrong choice. Most people believe there are only three paths available when the knees get stiff and the house feels too quiet. They think they must either burden their children until resentment poisons the relationship, or hire a stranger to watch them wither away, or surrender their keys and their dignity to a cold institutional nursing home. I am here to tell you that these options are often a slow death sentence for the human spirit. At 75 years old, a man I knew named Arthur sat in his pristine living room and realized he could no longer change a light bulb or carry his own groceries without gasping for air. The panic that sets in during that moment of vulnerability is what drives millions of seniors into the arms of the elder care industry. But the industry is built on a fundamental lie that says you are a patient who needs to be managed, rather than a human being who needs to be useful. When you enter a facility, you are trading your autonomy for a false sense of security. You are told that you will be safe, but they do not tell you that safety without purpose is a prison. The walls of a nursing home are painted in calming colors to hide the fact that they are designed to facilitate your decline. From the moment you stop cooking your own meals and stop deciding when to walk outside, your brain begins to prune away the neural pathways that keep you sharp. This is the hidden trap of modern care systems. They provide for the body while they starve the soul. If you cannot live entirely alone anymore, the answer is not to retreat into a cubicle where someone else holds the remote to your life. The answer lies in a radical shift in how we view aging and assistance. You must understand that the second you stop being a contributor to society and become a mere consumer of care, you have begun the process of disappearing. We are told that retirement is a time to rest, but for the elderly, rest is often the precursor to atrophy. The biological truth is that our bodies and minds are governed by the rule of use it or lose it. When a facility takes away your chores, they are taking away your reason to move. When a nurse manages your schedule, they are taking away your reason to think. We must confront the painful truth that our current models of aging are designed for efficiency and profit, rather than for the preservation of the individual. You do not need a supervisor. You need a system of mutual support that allows you to remain the master of your own destiny. This script is not a suggestion, but a survival guide for those who refuse to spend their final decades as a number on a clipboard. We will explore why the traditional paths of care are failing our generation, and exactly what you must do instead to ensure your sunset years are defined by power and connection, rather than isolation and institutionalization. Your life is far too valuable to be handed over to a corporation just because your joints ache. It is time to reclaim the narrative of what it means to grow old with your head held high and your spirit intact. The psychological walls of a nursing home are often thicker and more impenetrable than the physical ones. When we talk about the psychological death that occurs within these facilities, we are referring to the systematic stripping away of a person's identity. In an institution, you are no longer the retired engineer, the master gardener, or the beloved neighborhood mentor. You become a room number and a list of medications. This loss of self is a silent killer that acts faster than many chronic diseases. It begins with the loss of small choices, like what time to wake up or what kind of tea to drink. And it ends with a total surrender of the will to live. Consider the environment of these institutions. They are designed for the convenience of the staff, not the comfort of the residents. The constant beeping of monitors, the smell of industrial disinfectant, and the lack of personal belongings all serve as constant reminders that you are in a place of waiting rather than a place of living. When your environment is no longer a reflection of your personality, your mind begins to retreat. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. It is a state where an individual feels they have no control over their outcomes, leading to a profound sense of apathy and a rapid decline in cognitive function. Many seniors enter these homes thinking they are gaining safety, but they are actually losing their edge. Without the daily challenges of managing a household, interacting with a diverse community, and solving the small problems of life, the brain loses its plasticity. The routine becomes a monotonous loop that offers no stimulation. This lack of engagement is why we see so many vibrant individuals suddenly experience a sharp drop in mental clarity within months of moving into assisted living. They aren't just getting older. They are being starved of the social and mental nutrients that keep a human being alive. Furthermore, the social structure of a nursing home is unnatural. It gathers people together based solely on their age and their infirmity, rather than their interests or their values. This creates a culture of shared decline, where every conversation revolves around physical ailments and the passing of peers. This is not a community. It is a waiting room. True community requires a mix of ages and a variety of purposes. It requires a feeling that you are needed by others, not just looked after by them. The tragedy is that many families believe they are doing the right thing by choosing these facilities. They see the shiny brochures and the smiling staff and think they are providing a luxury experience for their parents. But they do not see the hollow eyes of the residents sitting in the hallway at 3 in the afternoon, with nowhere to go and nothing to do. They do not understand that the loss of autonomy is a physical pain for someone who has spent 60 years being the captain of their own ship. To survive the aging process with your spirit intact, you must reject the idea that your life has become a series of risks to be managed by others. You must realize that a bit of risk is necessary for a life worth living. It is better to fall while gardening in your own backyard than to spend 20 years sitting in a chair waiting for someone to bring you a tray of food. The psychological death of the nursing home is avoidable, but only if you are willing to look beyond the standard medical model and seek a way of living that honors your need for freedom and self-expression. One of the most difficult truths to swallow as we age is the realization that our children are not, and should not be, our retirement plan. We spend decades pouring our resources, emotions, and time into raising them, often with the unspoken assumption that they will be our safety net when our own strength begins to fail. However, relying solely on your adult children for your daily care is a recipe for the slow erosion of the very bond you spent a lifetime building. Modern family dynamics have shifted dramatically from the multi-generational households of the past. Your children are likely juggling demanding careers, their own mounting debts, and the exhausting pressures of raising their own families in a world that never stops moving. When you move into your child's spare bedroom because you can no longer manage on your own, the power dynamic of the relationship shifts in a way that is often irreversible. You go from being the wise patriarch or matriarch to being a dependent. You begin to see the flicker of stress on their faces when you need help getting to an appointment, or the way they lower their voices in the kitchen to discuss your health as if you aren't in the next room. This role reversal can lead to a profound sense of guilt for the parent and a growing sense of resentment for the child. It is a heavy burden to place on a relationship that should be defined by love and shared memories, rather than physical labor and logistical management. Furthermore, your children are often the least qualified people to provide the objective support you need. Because they love you, they are prone to overprotectiveness, which can inadvertently strip you of your remaining independence. They might insist you stop driving, stop cooking, or stop walking to the park, because they are terrified of something happening to you on their watch. Their fear becomes your cage. While their intentions are pure, the result is the same as being in an institution, a shrinking world where your choices are dictated by someone else's anxiety. You become a project to be managed rather than a person to be respected. The hard reality is that the sandwich generation, those adults caring for both children and aging parents, is under unprecedented psychological and financial strain. Expecting them to be your primary caregivers often leads to caregiver burnout, which can manifest as clinical depression or physical illness for your child. By making them your sole solution for your inability to live alone, you are tethering your well-being to their capacity to handle stress. This is a fragile foundation for your final years. You deserve a support system that is professional, reliable, and sustainable. And your children deserve to remain your children, not your nurses. This is why it is critical to look outside the family unit for the structural support required to age in place. By establishing a network of peers, community services, and reciprocal arrangements, you protect your relationship with your children. You allow your time with them to be about connection, storytelling, and joy, rather than about blood pressure medication and bathroom assistance. Taking responsibility for your own care plan is the ultimate gift of love you can give to your offspring. It preserves their freedom, and more importantly, it preserves your dignity in their eyes. Independence does not mean doing everything by yourself. It means being the one who decides how things are done. When you rely on your children out of necessity rather than choice, you lose that executive power. To avoid this, you must begin building a chosen family and a localized support system long before the crisis point hits. The goal is to remain a sovereign individual who happens to have a loving family, rather than a dependent who has no other options. The solution to the isolation of aging is not found in a clinical facility, but in the revival of an ancient human strength, the power of reciprocal community support networks. For decades, our society has moved toward a model of rugged individualism, where we are told to mind our own business and live behind closed doors. But as the body slows down, this independence becomes a trap. The man I mentioned earlier, Arthur, found his salvation not by hiring a live-in nurse, but by looking across his driveway. He realized that while he could no longer climb a ladder to clean his gutters, his neighbor, a young man working 2 jobs, struggled to find time to cook nutritious meals or watch his toddler for an hour. Arthur proposed a trade that changed his life. He offered to prep vegetables and supervise the toddler in exchange for the neighbor handling the heavy lifting around Arthur's property. This is the essence of a mutual support network. It is a barter system of human dignity. When you enter a nursing home, you are a passive recipient of care. In a reciprocal community, you are a stakeholder. You are giving as much as you are receiving, which is the biological chemical requirement for a sense of worth. When you help a neighbor, your brain releases oxytocin and dopamine, the very hormones that combat the cortisol of stress and the inflammation of aging. Building these networks requires a radical departure from the patient mindset. You must audit your skills. Can you mend clothes? Can you tutor a teenager in mathematics? Can you monitor a neighbor's house while they are at work? Can you share your decades of wisdom in gardening or financial management? There is a massive wisdom equity sitting dormant in the elderly population that society desperately needs. By offering these skills to those around you, you create a social insurance policy that no company can sell you. People look out for those who provide value to their lives. If you are the person who watches the street or helps the neighborhood children with their homework, the community will naturally ensure your porch is salted in the winter and your mail is brought in. This model is often referred to as the village model, and it is gaining traction globally as a superior alternative to institutionalization. It relies on the idea that a group of seniors and younger neighbors can form a localized cooperative. Instead of paying thousands of dollars to a corporation, members might contribute a small fee or their own time to a shared pool of resources. This pool can be used to hire a professional for tasks no one in the group can perform, such as specialized nursing or complex electrical work. But for 90% of daily needs, the community sustains itself. The magic of this arrangement is that it keeps you integrated into the real world. You see children playing, you hear the gossip of the town, and you remain aware of the changing seasons. In a nursing home, time is measured by the next meal or the next pill. In a reciprocal community, time is measured by the next interaction and the next opportunity to be useful. It breaks the cycle of waiting to die by replacing it with planning to live. You must start building this network today, before the crisis of mobility hits. Reach out to your neighbors. Join local civic organizations with the intent of forming deep, functional bonds. Do not wait for someone to offer help. Offer your help first. By becoming an indispensable part of your local ecosystem, you anchor yourself to your home and your neighborhood. You create a shield against the isolation that so often leads to the nursing home door. This is not just a lifestyle choice. It is a strategic defense of your freedom and your future happiness. Mastering the art of micro-independence is the tactical foundation of staying out of a nursing home. It is a common mistake to wait until a major health crisis occurs before adjusting how you live. By then, the choice is often taken out of your hands by doctors or panicked relatives. To prevent this, you must treat your daily routine as a form of specialized training. Every small task you perform for yourself, tying your own laces, reaching for a high shelf, or scrubbing a bathtub, is a victory against the encroaching tide of dependency. In an assisted living facility, these activities of daily living are the first things they take away from you under the guise of service. But in reality, they are taking away your physical therapy. You must audit your home environment with the cold eye of a strategist. The goal is to eliminate the friction that makes living alone dangerous. This does not mean moving into a sterile, hospital-like setting. It means making high-impact modifications that preserve your energy and safety. Install grab bars that look like high-end towel racks. Swap out doorknobs for levers that are easier on arthritic hands. Ensure your lighting is bright enough to eliminate the shadows that lead to trips and falls. These are not signs of weakness. They are the fortifications of a fortress. By removing the obstacles that might cause a fall, you remove the primary excuse others will use to force you into an institution. Beyond the physical environment, micro-independence requires a disciplined approach to your cognitive and physical health. You must become your own primary care manager. This means tracking your own biomarkers, understanding your medications deeply, and engaging in resistance training to maintain muscle mass. Sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle, is the silent engine of the nursing home industry. When you lose the strength to stand up from a low chair without help, you lose your ticket to freedom. Therefore, your daily chore list should be viewed as a gym membership. Carrying laundry, walking to the mailbox, and even standing while you chop vegetables are all essential exercises that keep your independence alive. Furthermore, you must master the modern tools of the digital age. Technology is often viewed as an enemy of the elderly, but for those who wish to stay home, it is the ultimate ally. Learning to use grocery delivery apps, telehealth portals, and smart home systems allows you to outsource the logistics of life without surrendering your soul to a facility. If you can summon a car, order your heart medication, and consult with a specialist from your tablet, you have effectively neutralized many of the arguments for supervised living. You are using silicon and software to replace the expensive, intrusive staff of a care home. Mental micro-independence is equally vital. You must resist the urge to let others make your decisions. When a well-meaning child suggests a change to your diet or your schedule, evaluate it critically. If it makes sense, adopt it on your terms. If it doesn't, explain why. Maintaining your executive function, the ability to plan, focus, and multitask, is a use-it-or-lose-it skill. The moment you say, "You decide for me," you have handed over the keys to your life. Stay informed about the world, manage your own finances to the best of your ability, and keep a rigorous schedule. A self-imposed routine is a powerful defense against the mental fog that often precedes institutionalization. True independence is not a static state. It is a daily practice of maintenance and adaptation. It is about recognizing your limitations early and finding creative ways to bypass them. By focusing on these micro-victories, you prove to yourself and to the world that you are still the primary resident of your life. You are not a patient waiting for a nurse. You are a homeowner managing a property and a human being managing a future. This proactive stance is what separates those who age with dignity from those who are merely managed until the end. Redefining your purpose beyond just surviving the day is the ultimate psychological shield against the nursing home. In many care facilities, the residents spend their hours in a state of passive consumption, watching television, or waiting for the next scheduled activity to begin. This is a form of spiritual hibernation that accelerates physical decay. To remain in your home and in control of your life, you must have a reason to get out of bed that is larger than your own comfort. Purpose is a biological necessity. It regulates your circadian rhythms, sharpens your focus, and provides the resilience needed to push through the chronic pain that often accompanies aging. When the man I mentioned, Arthur, began helping his neighbors, he discovered that his chronic back pain felt less intrusive because his mind was occupied with the needs of others. This is not just a pleasant sentiment. It is a neurological fact. When you are engaged in a mission-driven task, your brain prioritizes the execution of that task over the signaling of minor physical discomfort. Whether it is volunteering for a local charity, writing down your life's lessons for the next generation, or maintaining a garden that feeds your neighborhood, these acts of creation are what keep you tethered to the living world. You must transition from being a person who is cared for to a person who cares for something. The trap of retirement is the idea that you have earned the right to do nothing. But the human brain is not designed for nothingness. It is a problem-solving machine that begins to malfunction when it no longer has problems to solve. This is why many high-achieving individuals decline so rapidly after they stop working. To avoid the institutional path, you must find a new work that honors your current capacity. This work doesn't have to be grand. It can be the meticulous care of a single rose bush, or the daily check-in calls to other seniors who are more isolated than you are. By becoming a node in a social network, you ensure that your absence would be noticed and felt. Meaningful engagement also serves as a diagnostic tool for your own health. If you have a project you are passionate about, you will notice the subtle shifts in your energy or cognitive clarity much sooner than if you are simply sitting in an armchair. You will be motivated to eat better, sleep more soundly, and follow your medical protocols because you have a deadline to meet or a person counting on you. Purpose gives you a why that makes the how of aging much more bearable. It transforms the maintenance of your health from a chore into a prerequisite for your mission. Consider the legacy you wish to leave behind. A nursing home often acts as a filter that strips away the richness of a person's history, leaving only the medical present. By staying in your community and remaining active, you continue to weave your story into the fabric of the world. You become a living library for the younger people in your life. When you share your experiences, your failures, your triumphs, and your hard-won perspective, you are providing a service that no professional caregiver can offer. You are teaching others how to live, and in doing so, you are validating your own existence. The choice to stay home is a choice to stay relevant. It is an assertion that your contribution to the world is not yet finished. You must resist the societal narrative that suggests the elderly should move quietly into the background. Instead, lean into your seniority as a position of authority and service. When you live with purpose, you project a vibrance that commands respect rather than pity. This respect is your greatest protection, as it encourages those around you to support your independence rather than seeking to manage your decline. Your mission is your heartbeat. Keep it strong, and the walls of the institution will stay far from your door. The logistics of building your personal fortress require a shift from a passive lifestyle to a strategic one. If you want to avoid being moved into an institution against your will, you must transform your home into a high-functioning command center. This starts with a physical audit of your living space, focusing on what experts call universal design. You are not renovating for an old person. You are renovating for a champion of independence. This means looking at every staircase, every rug, and every doorway as a potential tactical error. Lighting is perhaps the most underrated element of this fortress. Dimly lit hallways are the primary cause of the falls that lead to hip fractures, which are the leading gateway to permanent nursing home placement. By installing motion-activated LED strips and ensuring every corner of your home is bathed in clear light, you are directly investing in your freedom. Financial logistics are equally critical. Many people end up in nursing homes because they failed to budget for the specific type of help that allows for aging in place. You must redirect the funds that would have gone toward a facility's exorbitant monthly fees into a home independence fund. This fund should be used to hire targeted, task-specific help. Instead of a full-time nurse, you might hire a student to handle heavy cleaning for 3 hours a week, or a professional organizer to ensure your home remains clutter-free and navigable. By unbundling the services a nursing home provides, you can often live better at a fraction of the cost while retaining total control over who enters your sanctuary. This is about being the CEO of your own life, rather than a patient in someone else's ward. Technology serves as the digital moat around your fortress. Beyond simple medical alerts, you should integrate smart home technology that monitors your safety without intruding on your privacy. Smart stoves that shut off automatically, sensors that detect unusual patterns of movement, and voice-activated assistants can act as a silent support staff. These tools provide peace of mind to your distant relatives, effectively neutralizing their safety concerns, which are often the catalyst for the talk about moving you to a home. When you can show your family that your home is equipped with the latest safety innovations, you take away their ammunition for relocation. You are proving that you have a plan, and there is nothing more persuasive than a person who is clearly in command of their situation. The social safety net of your fortress is built through intentionality. You must create what is known as a check-in circle. This is a small group of trusted individuals, neighbors, friends, or even local shopkeepers, who have a specific protocol for your well-being. It could be as simple as a thumbs-up emoji sent every morning, or a specific signal, like opening your curtains by 9 o'clock. This informal monitoring system ensures that if something does go wrong, you won't be left alone for long. It provides the security of a nursing home without the sterility of a hospital. Unlike a paid staff member who is just doing a job, these are people who have a genuine stake in your presence in the neighborhood. Finally, you must maintain a legal fortress. This means having your paperwork in absolute order before anyone questions your capacity. A clear, legally binding directive that outlines your desire to remain at home and names a healthcare proxy who shares your values is essential. You must explicitly state that your priority is autonomy over absolute safety. When your wishes are documented and your environment is fortified, you become a difficult target for the institutional machine. You are not just sitting in a house, you are occupying a stronghold. This proactive preparation is the difference between a person who is still at home and a person who is successfully aging in place. Your fortress is the physical manifestation of your will to remain free. This is your final manifesto for a dignified future and a call to action while the power of choice is still firmly in your hands. We must stop viewing the aging process as a slow retreat and start seeing it as a courageous stand for the values we have spent a lifetime defending. The choice to avoid a nursing home is not about denying the reality of physical change. It is about refusing to let those changes define your worth as a human being. You are the architect of your final chapters, and you have the right to demand that those chapters be written with the ink of independence and the paper of community. Do not wait for a fall or a flicker of forgetfulness to start building your support network. The time to act is now, while your mind is clear and your resolve is strong. Take a hard look at your life today and identify the cracks where dependency might creep in. Fix the house, reach out to the neighbor, and redefine your purpose. Remember that every time you help another person, you are reinforcing your own place in the world. You are proving that the elderly are not a burden to be managed, but a resource to be tapped. By choosing to stay in your home and your community, you are performing a revolutionary act in a society that would rather hide you away. You are showing the generations that follow you that it is possible to grow old without growing small. You are teaching them that dignity is not something given by a medical facility, but something maintained through daily action and social connection. The path we have discussed today requires more effort than the passive surrender of institutionalization. It requires you to be proactive, social, and sometimes a bit stubborn. It requires you to face your fears of isolation by actively weaving yourself into the lives of others. But the reward for this effort is a life that remains truly yours until the very last breath. You will wake up in your own bed, surrounded by the smells of your own kitchen and the echoes of your own history. You will be a neighbor, a mentor, and a friend, rather than a patient or a room number. This is the ultimate victory of the human spirit over the clinical machinery of the modern world. As you move forward, carry the story of Arthur with you. He didn't find happiness by being safe in a sterile room. He found it by being useful in a messy, vibrant neighborhood. He found it by realizing that his weakness was actually a bridge to other people. Your needs are not a source of shame. They are an opportunity for connection. When you allow someone to help you, and you offer your wisdom or time in return, you are participating in the most fundamental human ritual of all: mutual survival. This is the village that will keep you home. This is the doing that replaces the nursing home. Stand tall in your seniority. Your gray hair and your slow gait are not signs of a finished life. They are the badges of a long-distance runner who is still in the race. Do not let anyone convince you that your safety is more important than your soul. If you cannot live entirely alone, do not go to a nursing home. Instead, open your doors, open your heart, and build a life that is so deeply rooted in your community that it can never be uprooted by an institution. You have the wisdom, you have the experience, and now you have the plan. Go forth and live with the dignity you have earned. The world still needs you, and more importantly, you still need the world.